welcome back to Jay's Books Corner, where I know I'm going one to document this process. So this morning I was reading Beach Read by Emily Henry. It's my first book of the year. I'd also like to mention today is like the 5th of January, 2022, and I got book concept ideas this morning. I got one through depression, which is going to be something that's going to really test me as a writer in the regard of I'm not really sure how to write a concept like that in the way I want to write it. This has nothing to do with that story though. This is a different one. And then also I was reading, like I said, Beach Read by Emily Henry, and it has a tiny bit of a second chance romance that's pretty much more fleshed out than any other ones I've seen so far. They didn't really date. There wasn't really a big breakup or anything like that. They're not finding each other many years later. They just end up having like a little bit of a fling, which is why it's like a very tiny little second chance romance in that book. Whereas I was like, I kind of want to write my own and write it the way I like second chance romances. And there's only one really way to do that, and that is to write a whole entire series around it. So that's what I'm doing. It's a companion series. The only thing here is most companion series you can read all separate as standalones. I personally like reading a series in its full entirety, having to read one book after the other. And so the difference here is you want to know the relationships and stuff like that. You're going to have to read each book as they will continue on in each book, but it does not follow the same main character. All 5 books will have different main characters centered around this friend group that is built since they were in since high school. I'm not really sure exactly how the whole friend group is built, because that's like a lot of gay characters for a small Ohio town, but also maybe it's not out. That's so far-fetched. And so yeah, so I very quickly went down the general ideas. I have a pretty good understanding of what each book is going to be about, their romance inside that book, and so now we just need to really flesh it out and things. I don't want to do too much of fleshing, as I do think I want to have this novel be a little more experimental. I know the pathways all these characters are going on, and that's the only part that matters to me. That's the only part that I really care about. And some of them are pretty straightforward and easy to go down those paths. Some of them are not. So I think for at least book 1, I want to get all the names down and some of their attributes and their main things, so I can start to tell their stories. I think in the first draft of these books, at least book 1, it's going to be much more character types, and then we're going to start adding the nuances once I get to know them, as I'll probably do the same thing I do for most series, and that is write all 5 books at once, go back and then edit them. I'm actually trying to do a whole year without revisions to try to fall back in love with writing, as I'm pretty sure revisions is what killed my love for writing last year. So I'm just trying to take a break from that and just write as many first drafts as possible. And why not do that in a whole series? I wanted to start this for that whole entire thing. I don't know which one this is going to follow, or if I'm just going to have a video where I talk about it in general and then have different ones that follow a specific, like the Pacific book or whatever. I'm not really sure how big the compilation for this video is going to be, so we'll see as we can progress. Okay, I'm about to head to bed. It's 2:31 in the morning. I do have to work in the morning as well. But I'm doing something a little bit different with this series. Basically because it is a complete companion, and book 1 is not just a set of, for obviously, our character in the events that he follows during a portion of his life, this year of his life that the book does follow. It's looking out to be 30 chapters, possibly, we'll see. But it's also a setup for the other 5 other main characters that we'll be following in other books as well. Except, I guess 4, because one of the main characters, they are not actually a main character. They won't get a POV, but they're a part of a main romance or whatever, it doesn't matter. And essentially, so I'm trying to do this a little bit differently. There's a lot of different structured storylines going on here, and so I'm trying to hit every mark for every character in book 1 to set them up for their sequel series. Some of these characters, books or whatever, takes place 2 years or 3 years after, and so theirs will also be continued to be built on throughout the other 2 books and things like that, so we can set it up perfectly. I normally have a big chapter outline. I have a huge character profile. This time around, it's 1,300 words. Each main character has their age that they start out with, and a quick background history on them in their life and what they've been through, what they look like, and then also their goals and stuff for that first book. Because each character has a different one. There's only one love interest this time around. There's technically 2, but it's not a main character ship, so The other ones are pretty open to more labs in the future. I also have a whole background on the actual group, which is also very different, as I've never had a really tight-knit friend group like this before. I've had friend groups before. Halfway Broken has a Pacific friend group, but it's mostly him and his best friend, and then his other best friend, and then he gets a new one in college because the other best friend is more like a fake friend. But for the chapter outline, I think I'm going back into the ways that I did it for Elizabeth Snow. When I wrote Elizabeth Snow, I would outline like where I wanted to go till chapter 5. I think it's a good way to keep on track of your structure of your story, but also it's a nice way to be a little bit more experimental if you're trying to do that. And so that's basically the plan here, as I've outlined to the first 4 chapters. That 4th chapter is the inciting incident. Not that there really is. I'm not really following, I'm not gonna lie to you, it's really scary for me, but I'm not really following like a beat structure or anything for this book. I have obviously some conflicts for the 3rd act and so forth, and so like I have little things like that that are kind of essential for you telling a story, but ultimately this is just really is for fun. And so I don't have like, I mean, I'm sure I'm gonna hopefully do something with these in the future, but I don't like have a designated inciting incident. I don't have this or this or this type of thing. They're there, but it's not either way. And we'll see how that works out, and we'll see how much I want to change that in the editing room later on, and probably next year or so. But with this one, I also wrote down the big events for this book, the plot points I want to hit. Some of them are very broad, such as like winter break. Winter break covers several weeks, and so, but a whole chapter would probably be winter break is my best guess. And we also have some other things that will be scattered throughout each part. Right now there's 2 parts in my brain because I like to divide things up that way, but in reality you guys won't see those 2 parts. I don't have any idea what the ending is for this book either. I think that's kind of fun. I have a lot of things that are going to happen towards the end of the book figured out, but it really is up in the air, and I'm very excited to start writing it. Hi, I'm going to come in here. So working on Shadow Creek stuff. That's what we're going to be calling these right now, as I probably won't know the titles of any of these books, so I'll probably am telling you guys the main characters' names for each book, just to say this is the book we're working on. I'm not really sure. For instance, the first main character that we're going to be working on today is Tommy. That'll be book 1's main character. I don't really care to tell you those things. It's not essential to the plot, and these are really character-driven stories anyways. Each one is going to be dealing with some type of abstract, probably more than likely, type of villain. Either way, I wrote down a bunch of survey questions that you would either answer about your own personal self, but I'm going to use them as a way to answer them about the characters. If you guys did not remember, I had already done some detailed outlining work prior, I think this was yesterday, about kind of what they look like, their goals, and somewhat of that about their home life. But this is a much more deep dive. And then if I need even more information, which I don't know if it's going to be necessary or not, I do have some questions that they'll be answering in like an essay portion about some moments in their lives. I'm going to write them inside their voice because these are all first person protagonists. That's what the story, like each one is going to be a different main character and things. And if you guys do not know, this is the first book in this series, takes place their senior year of high school. So we're going to answer these as if it's a college app, because that's something that they're going to be dealing with in the book itself. So I think it's a really interesting and fun way to do it. We do have the bigger 3 questions that you need to ask yourself when developing a very strong character for a novel, and I'll be answering those as essay questions. But each one, because some of these are pretty specific, we're going to answer in I's and we's and things as if they're answering itself. So age, I am, blah, 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 so forth and so forth. You get the point. All right, let's dive in. Hi, I'm about to head to bed. I want to come here and update you guys. I need to stand for a second. It's about 5 o'clock in the morning, but I did get really far into those character profiles. I got halfway through the first one. I think this is going to be a full weekend process, so that's okay. We're just going to try to work on as many of them as possible. I'm really liking it. I'm having a very good sense of idea. And I'm watching someone on YouTube outline their story, and they're using birth charts, which I've never done before personally. Oh my god, why did you scare me like that? And so I've been using their birth charts as well, because each of them have a birthday. And I think I figured out the ending of book 3, or a big part of ending of book 3. I think it's going to be towards the 3rd act. And then I also figured out, which is good because I wasn't really sure what the conflict was for that one. And I think I have figured out now, which is real good. Then I figured out some other little things. I also figured out, I'm pretty sure book 1 and book 5 are going to be the longer ones of the series, the beginning and the end. The beginning, we're introducing 6 characters. The end, we're wrapping up 6 characters. And so, yeah. Plus 6, book 5 is going to have a whole bunch of cameos, and it's going to be a fun time. It's going to be like the end game of the series, you know? So I keep saying things like, I'm very looking forward to it. We're going to talk about Shadow Creek series. A few things to take of note that I want to get out of the way right away is I have been brainstorming some ideas. I'm actually really liking a lot of these ideas. I think that's good. These are title ideas. I was not very clear there. Also, I'm just going to very quickly run through all the main characters' names because we will be talking about them. I'm not going to tell you too much about the main character, as these are much more character-driven plots, character-driven stories, and plot-driven stories. There is obviously a lot of different plot points and stuff, so if like you're a plot person, it's there, but a lot of the plot points are directed around different characters and stuff, or just certain things I want to do. It's where we're at right now. So the first book, the character that I just finished was Tommy. There is 6 of these, so I have a little bit to go. We're not even completely done yet, but we're getting there. Is Tommy, and the question that I will be answering every time I finish one of these, they give you like a little bit of a taste of who these people are and why this is important. I'll explain in a minute. But if a song played every time the character walked into a room, what song would it be? So like if you're, watching a movie and you're kind of, she's adorable, and you're kind of like doing like a score or whatever, it would be that character's score, like Captain America's score or whatever. I'm sure Batman probably a better idea there. His score would be Heather by Conan Gray, and that gives you a pretty good idea of who Tommy is and as a person. I think it worked out really nicely. Like I was like, yeah, that's the song. But then we also have Curtis. Curtis is the next person we're working on. I did Curtis's whole entire horoscope already, and now we're going through all the questionnaires, which I think really does help me get an idea about the character, especially since these are all written in first person point of views. I'm answering all the questions in first person point of views, and I really am understanding these characters really well. And his song is Hymn by Sam Smith, which is a beautiful song, and it does make a lot of sense to his character. And that's all I'll say. Like, you can dive into that, you can figure out what it means. These books won't come out for several more years, so like, who really cares, right? And then we also have Coulson, which is book 3's main character. I've not done anything for Coulson yet, so once I have a song, I'll tell you what it is, because I think that's only fair. And then we have Dalton, which, once again, I've only done the first 2 people, so. And then we also have Jacob, and then we also have Jody. Now you might be asking yourself, Jacob, there's 6 people, but only 5 books. If each person gets their own book, how is that fair? Well, it's fair in one regard. I'm not going to spoil it here, but it does have to do directly with some characters that we just mentioned. If you guys don't know, I am a music-driven person. When I write, I like to listen to a single song. Normally, this song is a song I've heard a billion times already, or it's a brand new song that sparked me like a lot of like joy or whatever while writing. For instance, it was a sad song. It was Phineas's song. Something about a friend, used to be a friend or something, and I wrote that song the entire process of writing Church of Samuel, which is an older project of mine. Actually, maybe I'll link a video for you guys if you guys are curious about older projects of mine I have on this channel. For Broken Boys, I had a playlist of a set of songs, but I did scatter between a few songs when I first started writing it. Normally that playlist is really small, and so I think for this book series, I think something I'm going to try to do is one central playlist of like a bunch of different songs that's going to cover all the books. And I think we're going to try to make character playlists, which I've never done before. I think that will really help me get a good idea. Just like I plan on doing character like Pinterest boards, which could also help. I'm not really sure yet though. I'd also like to go through and maybe find a celebrity or something along those lines for these characters as well, so I can have a very clear picture of what they look like in my mind. I have a pretty clear picture. We'll see. That might be too far, and it might be, and we might back out. All right, I'm going to continue working on this. We're about halfway through Curtis's character profile. We have several more questions to go through and things. Horoscopes are both fun, but they're also exhausting, so yay. We have several. I'm not saying love interest names, by the way, but you do get to know this is the first book we're going to be working on will be Tommy's book, so I'll be referencing it as Tommy's book. Okay. Hi, I want to come in here and close out this vlog. Thank you for coming with me on this journey. I had no idea starting this week that I would end up writing over 14,000 words and outlining shit for a new book series. This really did take me by like my hair. I was like, we're going on this ride. The real question is, can I keep up the momentum? We are officially going to start Tommy's book today, and I'm going to try to keep myself on a somewhat of a tight deadline, as I've read almost all the books I wanted to read this month already, and it's only like day 5. So I'm pretty happy with this whole entire results. So yeah, it's like day 7, day 8 now. So I'm pretty happy with where we're standing. I didn't end up outlining every character that I wanted to outline through and have all their stuff, but that's okay. I think I will come back, and also with the love interest specifically, I want to get to know the love interest a little bit inside the story before we start doing a deep dive into the love interest. I have an idea who he is, and I have a pretty clear understanding of who he is, but he's also a really big mystery to me, and this is the only one where I'm not using some type of trope to kind of narrow it down and stuff. I mean, book 2 also doesn't have a trope, but they're 2 very different characters, this love interest and book 2's love interest, but they're very just more like, it's just a romance. It's not like a haters to lovers or whatever it might be. Yeah, alright. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.